Welcome, everyone, to another episode. I don't know why this is doing that. To another episode of Taking Up Space, a Michelle A. Mayer podcast. Always excited about coming forward, y'all. Today is absolutely no different. I don't know why my little backdrop area is bending like that. I have no idea. Maybe if I sat back. We'll sit back and see. That's better. Always excited about coming forward, y'all. Today is absolutely no different. Today, thank God it's Friday. Happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday to you. I hope you all are well today and firing off on all cylinders. Want to drop something on you to give you something to think about. I was watching social media and I get a lot of inspiration from what I see on social media. I do. I watch social media a lot of times just to get a litmus test of what's going on amongst the people. What are people talking about? What do people find of interest? And I think social media is great in that way because unlike TV, when you're watching TV, you're watching a pre-programmed kind of thing that someone took a lot of time and put together. But when you're on social media, you have the ability to watch what other people are creating in real time. What people are talking about. It's like a newspaper. I mean, if you think everything you read in the newspaper is truthful, then social media probably isn't going to be helpful to you. There's always some form of deception in anything you will get in media or even on social media. And that's what I meant by not shying away from looking into these things, but looking into them knowing that you have the wherewithal within you to be able to dissect what is necessary from what is being conveyed and what is not. And social media is the same way. But I think social media is great in the sense that you get a vivid understanding of what other people are talking about. You get to see everyone's offerings. I think of social media just as I think of when Moses asked the children, when God told Moses to ask the children of Israel after they left Egypt that, if they wanted to, they could come and offer things that they thought were worthy to help decorate and to make the tabernacle great within a particular parameter. You know what I mean? Like you can't just bring anything, but within a particular parameter to show righteousness and honor and regard to God and regard to your house and your nation and all these types of things. Come one and come all and give as much as you like. And I think social media is the same way. It's an opportunity for people to come with all of the fruit that they have of their gifts and offer them up to people, and in whatever capacity that they desire within a particular parameter. But so you will hear me speak several times on this podcast to, me getting an idea from scrolling social media. While I was scrolling today, I saw somebody talking about Skinwalker Ranch. And I thought, that's interesting. Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, I've heard of skinwalkers. I've heard of Skinwalker Ranch, but I never really went into detail on it. See, one thing we find is that all of these theories, all of these things that we talk about are synonymous across the planet. I don't care if it's in Utah, because Skinwalker Ranch is a ranch located in Utah. But you got different places along the planet, across the planet, hot spots for paranormal activity. And a lot of the things that people are conveying that they have seen or have experienced at these places are things that we see within the book of Enoch or we hear about going on in biblical texts. They're just up to date. They're just someone from today's age having experienced such things and trying to make sense of them. Yet when you hear people break down exactly what it is that they're experiencing and what they've seen at these places, they align almost perfectly to what we hear of in texts like the first, second, or the third book of Enoch, when we're talking about the fallen angels or these watchers, or what is being conveyed in biblical texts as to what happened to these watchers and where they are and have they disappeared? What is the judgment of them? Or even in Revelation as to what exactly happened and where they went and what they did and what were their activities like. You would have to have a keen knowledge of all of these varied biblical or spiritual scripts or books of literature to be able to connect them all together. And so today I'm just going to do a roundabout on that because I thought that was very interesting what I saw about Skinwalker Ranch on social media. And, you know, I'm an avid Ancient Aliens watcher. Like my daughter will tell you when she was young, I had Ancient Aliens on like I was burning incense. I would just let it play in the background while I was doing stuff in the house because at that time I was very active in beautifying my environment and doing little miscellaneous things around my environment. And it was a all is well holistic space for me. And I would have Ancient Aliens playing in the background. And not that I was paying complete attention to it. I would let it play so that, you know, after I completed one task, if I heard something that caught my interest, I could focus in on it. You know, anything having to do with whatever aspect that the episode was speaking to. But it would be something that it was something that I definitely showed a lot of interest to. And my daughter teases me on that even today, even though it's been many, many years since I've seen an episode. I have moved beyond that. Life has moved me beyond that. It was as if I needed to really have a lot of activity in that and then to move completely beyond it. Nowadays, I don't even watch such things. I don't even watch TV. But when I was listening to this episode on this podcast and this gentleman speaking to Skinwalker Ranch, it made me think of the fallen angels. This whole situation going on there in the paranormal activities. If many of you haven't heard of it, I'll update you as to just a small glimpse of what they say goes on there. It's a ranch in Ballard, Utah. Utah is a state, and Utah is a very, very strange state. I've driven through Utah many times. I had a trucking company, and I would drive all across the continental U.S. I've been everywhere. I've been to some remote places, and a lot of the places that truckers drive are not on the beaten path. They're all the way in the remote recesses of these states. They're a lot of times in the areas that most people don't go. You don't have a lot of internet access. Very, very flat, very remote areas. And Utah is like that. Utah is Nevada has some very remote areas. Scary remote. Like you will want to be up out of there before it's nighttime or get to a city because it's so remote and hot or even very, very cold depending upon what time of the year you go. It's a place of extremes. These are extreme places, not so much Utah, but really Nevada. And at night in these places, when you travel through them, they are like open areas. The sky, it seems like, opens up in these places in ways that you just don't find in normal metropolitan areas. You wouldn't see the sky open in the way that you would see the sky open over Nevada or over Utah at night. Primarily because there's so many lights in the city. You see, when the lights are paramount within the environment, it dims the light of the stars. So stars that you would normally see very clearly or that you would see dimly, you don't see as clearly or you don't see them at all because the lights of the city, headlights of cars, and so on negate the heavenly lights from shining as brightly. But when you get out deeper into the remote areas and the areas that really are flat and or even mountainous areas, when there's not a lot of light, you see a lot of the stars. Arizona is the same way, very much so. And so this ranch that's in Ballard, Utah, Skinwalker Ranch, you will see a lot of the activity within the heavenly realms by way of the stars clearer. And they say, I wrote some notes here, that this area is globally renowned for UFO sightings. I thought that was interesting. Globally is a powerful word. That means that nowhere, it can contend with some of the other hot spots that we find across the planet that too have a lot of paranormal activity. That this place in Utah contends with such places across the planet. I thought that was very interesting. The gentleman that I was watching today, what caught my attention wasn't that he was talking about Skinwalker Ranch. What caught my attention was the fact that he was bringing up, he used a particular set of words. He called the entities, what we would consider aliens or entities of that sort, sentient beings. And I know that in my past podcast, I spoke to the creation, our evolution, our creation, the way that we are created at this state. I had come across someone else speaking to us as Omega class sentient beings. And I thought, isn't that nails it, but that doesn't really nail it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we are Omega class sentient beings. We are the last in a line of our kind. We are the perfected state of our kind, if you want to call it that. Because it is written that there were many that were created prior to us that just didn't work out. They got shelved. I told you, when we look at this story between Adam and Satan, we're really looking at an entity fearful of being shelved. And it's as if we as a species, this Omega class sentient being, we are in ignorance to vital information regarding our creation and why we were created and what our expectation is in our creation. We're missing it. So we're somewhat squandering our calling. You see, and God potentially shelving another species and their fear of such, why would they be afraid that they would be shelved? They must have seen it happen before. In order for someone to come up with an idea that such things can happen, they've had a premonition that it's possible. But it's as if we don't know this Omega class sentient being ourselves. We don't know this. We're missing this vital piece of information. And so we're off in la la land. We got our podcasts. We got our houses. We got our cars. Our children go to private school. We've got money in the bank. We've got friends in the form of other Omega class sentient beings. We somewhat have a relationship with God. We really don't know God. We don't really have a hunger to know God because we're so busy knowing all this other stuff. In fact, we know so much that we even doubt that there is a God. Even though we can't deny it outright. And even though we're standing in all of the creation of God, all around us, the majesty of this thing, the majesty of how this thing has been pulled together, the amount of thought, let's just say not the amount, the power of thought. Use some right words here. The power, the perfection of thought needed to make this happen. A symphony that we are planted in, all working itself in unison with one another. How? By doing what they were created to do. Yeah, we're not. We're not. We're the only species. Get this. The Omega class, sentient, is the only species that is not living up to its creation. Remember, every other species on this planet, name one that's not. Name one that's fallen out of their alignment. Oh, you think it's Satan and his minions? The only, let me say this. Surely Satan and his minions fell out of alignment initially, causing a domino effect. Bound here. Disembodied after a certain amount of time. Yet, if it's God's goal to bring all things back to perfect harmony and unison, Satan is bound to this law as well. He don't have a choice. Yet if Adam and Eve do not ever come back into alignment, just as a star aligns in a particular age or a particular way of life or a particular vibration is emanated, if Adam and Eve don't ever realign, come back into alignment, proper alignment, then the entire system will remain in the way that it is. It is waiting for the Son of Man to come back into alignment. Yet he doesn't know he's not out of alignment. He doesn't know the truth of his creation. And if he doesn't figure out the truth of his creation, what happens? Does he get shelved? Because it's really, really, really starting to look like it. That's what's on the line. That's what many are banking on. I know in the Bible and in many texts or some texts across the planet, it speaks to, Jesus coming back and taking his chosen people with him, and everything's going to be great. But I have told you over and over again, that this is not a head count thing. The Bible conveys that God will do this thing all over again with three. Three people. He can start this whole thing again with three. Omega class sentient being. When they speak to these forces out here in Utah, they give them certain characteristics that they've obviously observed. Somebody's observed them, and so they found in their observance of them characteristics. And I personally, I know many people say, well, how did they observe them? I mean, they must have come into communication with them. And if they came into communication with them, then how did they do that? And why didn't I come into communication with them? And why are they the only ones that saw them and all this kind of stuff? And it makes me think back to some things that I experienced along my walk. Like when I've had to have a very vivid spiritual existence before coming forth with these communications to you. Or else I'd just be a fraud, friend. I'd be perpetrating a fraud. I'd be out here looking to be like somebody that I'm not. God would have had to have led me through very strange spaces. I have had the courage to enter into frightening circles, to pull back the veil in searching for God, the truths of God. I've gotten my hands slapped. I've gotten body slammed, friend. I'm here to tell you. I've had interactions in spirit that froze me in fear. Fear, head to toe, stopped in my tracks, just deer in the headlight. Yeah. And when you're in those situations, you can gain clarity as to aspects of that entity that you're interacting with, without ever having spoken a word to the entity, without ever, a lot of times, seeing the entity. To have a visualization of the entity is a luxury. The spiritual realm is a subtle realm. It's feminine. This is why women dominate in this realm without them even knowing it. Yet when you tap in and you become conscientious of what you're doing, your knowing is multiplied exponentially. You don't need to see. You feel it. You can feel it. You sense it. It doesn't need to say how it feels. You sense it. So when I hear of these aspects of these beings going on at Skinwalker Ranch, I can grasp how they would be able to interpret such things through experience. Life experiences, interactions. And you can say that the interactions with such things are gifts. They've shown you a thing that many people don't know of. You'll have no one to really say, oh yeah, me too. And even if they jump on the bandwagon and they me too up with you, you will be able to distinguish if they are telling you the truth. Because there will be nuances. There will be aspects that come into play that you can't manufacture. Your own approach moving forward from that experience will show what you know and what you've gathered and gained from that experience. You won't be able to deny it. So it speaks to intelligence as the number one characteristic of these entities. How would you know that a thing is intelligent? You would know intelligence by what comes from it, the way it moves. Its ability to gather information from you without you ever saying a word, without you even feeling that it's gathering the information from you. You won't even know. You just know that it's a heightened experience going on, and you will go about your day. And then you'll start to see results from that experience. And you'll say, that thing was conscience. How did it know that? These are little nuggets that it leaves to spawn you on, to keep you moving forward. This is the world of spirit. They're intelligent, non-human entities, meaning that they don't have the physical makeup as we do. They don't have a body most times. A lot of these beings have been disembodied. The Nephilim. I'm not saying all the spirits of this world are Nephilim. That would be ridiculous. There are positive angelic spirits, and there are very harmful spirits. And many of them are disembodied. Yet, the way that they interact, their way of interaction is universal to all of them. Just like you have good humans and you got bad humans. And our way of interacting is universal. We all got to go to the potty. We all breathe. We all need to eat food. We all see with the physical eye. We all have taste buds. We all hear. It's the same way. So they're intelligent in the form of they have vast ways of dominating in this realm. They don't need to go look in a book. They have at their fingertips vast methods of dominating in this reality. They know all, if not many, of the universal laws and truths. The fallen angels would know this as well. They were once angels. God says in the Apocrypha that he did not take away any of their intelligences after they fell. He didn't take anything from them. As far as their knowing, they know the entire system we're in from top to bottom and all points in between. These are masters. There's none greater in this existence but God. They're masters. You think they can't search you? Honestly, I don't know where I don't think we got to start connecting the dots and come out of fantasy and fiction with our ideologies and pull those ideologies over here into reality. Because they are. They're shapeshifters. They can be anything they want to be. They can look like an old lady. They can look like a baby. They can look like a dog. They can look like a cat. Bird. Rat. Fish. Tree. They could be anything. They dominate because they're intelligent. We're talking high-level intelligences. You have to have a fascination for the intelligence aspect, not of the fictional fantasy part. And this is the problem. When we become bewildered by the intelligence, and we begin to search it through intelligence, we are standing in our creation. JR says, their reflection is twisted. They masquerade as angels of light, and light reflects, but not when not the true light is a distorted reflection that can be counted as truth. So part of that is true. What I think you're saying is that the reflection is twisted. You started off right. Yes, their reflection is twisted. They're imposters. So in order for me to be a shapeshifter, I'm an imposter off the top. This is why I say we got to get to thinking. We got to pull the fantasy into the reality. Bridge the gap. If you are a shapeshifter, because that was great that you brought that up, JR. If you're a shapeshifter, you're an imposter. Your reflection is twisted. For your reflection to be twisted, you are imposing. You are looking to mimic. You're a mimicker. You want to step into somebody else's light. You're an imposter. They masquerade, the next sentence, they masquerade as angels of light, and light reflects, but when it not the true light, it's a distorted reflection that can't be counted as true. Absolutely. It will come upon you as an angel, or let's just say this. A messenger is an angel, so surely truthful. It will come upon you as an angel of light, but it will also come like an angle of light. And that angle of light, within that prism that is pulling that angle from, is distorted. It is of the source that it builds its angle from that distorts the essence of it, or the reflection. So that when you and I see it, it does not emanate within us the same level of power. We've got to force the interaction. God, let me speak this the way I know it. We've got to force the interaction. You will second guess it. You will first deny it. I'm going to give you an example, because I don't want to sound like I'm just all out in left field. So I'm going to use something totally non-related to what I really want to speak to. Have you ever been like at the park? And I know when I lived in Atlanta, there were a lot of trees at this park. Atlanta has a lot of trees. And I would walk early in the morning at the park. And a lot of times when I would walk at the park, the dew would still be coming down. It would be fresh on the grass, and the sun hadn't dried it up yet. It'd be that early in the morning. It'd be that intricate time between the sun drying the dew and the dew being prevalent upon the leaves and the grass. And I can recall a time I was walking, and in the distance, I saw a beam of sunshine beaming down into a canopy of branches of a tree. And it looked so beautiful. It looked soft, inviting. It gave off a natural ambiance of goodness, of blessing. That, in my opinion, is what we speak to the things of God. They come also with a feeling. You see, when spirit moves through the unseen. It is a feeling. A lot of times you won't have a visual to relate the feeling to. But what God does is he supports the feeling with a lot of visuals at certain intervals in our lives to get us strong enough to know the correspondence between the feeling and the visual. So that if he ever took the visual away and just gave us the feeling, we would recognize of what nature it is from. It is the same way with this angle of light that you're using here. They masquerade as angles of light, and light reflects, but when it not the true light, it's a distorted reflection. There will be many that will come as imposters. And as I spoke to yesterday, it is your job to know the difference. If something comes upon you as an angle or an angel of light, and you're viewing it, does it feel familiar? Or is it forced? Does your initial radar say deny? Or does it lessen all of your firewalls and soften you to it? When you look at it, is it that soft light? That perfect light? Soft but strong? Firm but soft? Or is it harshly bright? Are the edges of it sharp? These are all things that you got to ask. But in order for you to be able to ask, you've had to have some interaction before. Or else it won't make sense. It won't matter if they're sharp or bright or soft and strong and rounded and softened at the ends or sharp at the end. It doesn't matter. What difference does it make? You don't know what to do with it. You don't know how to correlate it. Because a lot of times we're stuck in the fantasy. And we don't pull from the fantasy into reality and make it malleable so that we can dominate it. We can, instead of beating ourselves up and saying, oh, the angel of light came and imposed itself upon me and I was tricked and all of this kind of stuff, we say, I entertained it. I didn't know what it was, but guess what I learned? I know now. Listen, had Adam and Eve, when fooled by the serpent, they were premeditatively set up by this serpent. Had they taken that ideology after all was said and done and God came into the garden and he said, what have you done? Instead of them hiding from their creator, which is ridiculous. How do you hide? But because they didn't know what to do with the information, they didn't know the extents and the bounds of which they had come into the knowing of. Can I hide from my Creator? They were making stupid fundamental mistakes, and I don't like to use the word stupid, but they were making ridiculous mistakes because they did not own the information. It was too much. They didn't know the bounds and the limits of the information, neither how to incorporate it. Yet had they stood and owned it and said, this is what happened, Father. I made a mistake. But they didn't. What did they do? They feared. And they began blaming. Friend, they began blaming. Hold on. And that in itself was a setup for failure. I wrote these things. I didn't know how this was going to come together. Two things at hand here. Ignorance and knowledge. Ignorance assumes and fears. We got two dynamics going on right now in this world. We got ignorance and we got knowledge. Ignorance is loud. Ignorance parades. It puts on a show. Pageantry. It never wants to be. It never wants to step into that and be that. It just wants to look like it. It wants to observe and then go out and mimic. That's ignorance. Knowledge is quiet. It likes silence because it recognizes from whence its power comes. Knowledge is always tilling knowledge. It's always thinking. Knowledge is not always full of activity and just doing stuff just to make it seem like I'm busy so people can think a certain way about me and accept me and like me. That's the same thing as mimicry. You might as well go out and mimic. It's a form of mimicry. It's ignorance. You're trying to look like everybody else so you don't stand out and you fit in and people like you and all this kind of stuff, even though it's against what you truly desire to do. That's not your makeup. That's what they do, and maybe that's how they're set up. That's not how I'm made up. And it's for me to stand in the sovereignty of that and know that, and not allow the world to discredit me because I'm standing in my truth. Ignorance assumes and fears. It assumes. It takes things for what the surface level says, because that's what ignorance is. It's all surface level based. Mimicry, observing what other people do on a surface level, never really wanting to know the mechanisms behind it. They don't want the substance. They don't want to know, okay, what is beneath the hood here? How did you do? They don't want to get involved in any of that. They just want to see the theatrics and how you display the substance. And they want to take the theatrics and make the theatrics their own. Ignorance assumes based upon the theatrics. And it fears. Why would it fear? Ignorance fears because they know that there's no substance under the hood. They don't ever want you to get beyond the surface level. Do not look into my business. Don't ask me a bunch of questions about this. Don't sit me next to someone that really honors this because it's going to be very apparent, the discrepancy. Knowledge, on the other hand, proves. Knowledge is always going to test you, friend, whether openly or indirectly. Knowledge is going to watch you because knowledge is going to know, like I said, you're going to exhibit certain characteristics and details that are going to be conducive to your knowing or your truth regarding that thing that only knowledge will be able to pick up. Knowledge will not ever be loud, and knowledge is not going to argue with you. I want you to tell me. I want to see what you say. That's knowledge. Knowledge searches. Oh. Knowledge searches the deep. Knowledge is not afraid of the deep. Most of the time, ignorance, the mimicry, the imposters, they don't want the deep. But knowledge is very comfortable in the deep. Knowledge is very comfortable in the deep and the dark. Because it searches these places. Knowledge is a repellent for fear in the sense that it will go and it will over accommodate in the knowing aspect so that it does not have to bow to fear. Knowledge refuses to bow to fear. The knowledge said, I don't have to bow to you. Get behind me. Fear, get behind me. I lead in truth and I lead in knowledge. And with you behind me, anyone that comes up upon me to superimpose themselves from the back, because I can contend from the front through knowledge and in truth. But anyone that comes up to attack from the back will be the spirit of fear that they will be confronted with. This is the get behind me. Fear has my back. You're going to think twice for trying to sabotage me, friend. You're going to think twice. Knowledge and truth go before me. Fear gets behind me. Did Satan personally attack Jesus? Did he? Does Satan personally attack anyone? Where did Satan attack? Huh? Outside of the water that the dragon spewed out of his mouth to make it uncomfortable for the woman, because it didn't say it was looking to unalive her. It says it was looking to make her uncomfortable, to scare her, to really distract her. But outside of that, did Satan attack anybody? Where did he attack? I know he took Jesus up on all these different places and said, I'll give you all this kind of stuff if you bow down to me. But who did he attack? Where? People attacked Jesus. It was Adam's children, Eve's children that attacked Jesus. And they blamed Satan. That's what happened. Where's the lie? They blamed Satan. And we're still blaming today. We attack one another and we blame Satan. the devil. Just as Adam and Eve blamed in the garden. We've gone no further. You can look at today's society and you can legitimately agree with everything I'm saying. When God came into the garden and he says, "What have you done?" Genesis chapter 3, verse 8. And they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. And the Lord God called unto Adam and said unto him, "Where art thou?" It reminds me of, when you were a kid and you had on your little outfit, whether it was Spider-Man or Batman or whatever you were, Catwoman, whatever you were. And you created in your mind this thought that you could be invisible. And you done came out into the kitchen and you're messing around with your brothers or sisters or your mom or your dad. And you thinking they can't see you. And it's like, I see you. This is God in the garden. This is the creator of everything. And he's saying, "Where are you?" And he said, "I heard thy voice in the garden and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself." And all of his hiding and all of him trying to be deceptive, he tells on himself without even knowing. You will be able to know them by what they say and what they do. They will tell on themselves. It will show in their actions and it will show in what they say. "Adam, where art thou?" "I hid because I was naked and I was afraid." Things that he would not have experienced had he not known, had he not partaken. He's told on himself. And he says this, "Who told thee that thou had eaten of the tree, wherefore I commanded thee that thou should not eat?" And here we go. The blaming game begins. One after the next, blame. The only person that did not blame is the serpent. "The woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree and I did eat. The serpent beguiled me and I did eat." Both of them blaming. And here we are today doing the same thing. Whether it's the unalivement of Jesus or even the things that we have befallen after that. We're constantly in this repetitive cycle of blaming. We some blamers. Where's the accountability? Where is the, I shouldn't do this. I need to do better than this. I'm here for a limited amount of time. Let me maximize on my time and do better than this. That's king, queen things that we were created to ascend to. But we never get there. Very few of us get there, friend. "Oh, nice. The Holy Spirit is sevenfold spirit. I want to choose the spirit of knowledge." Judas may have seen an example of Satan attacking after Jesus gave the bread to Judas. It says that Satan entered into him and he was led to pay for the betrayal of Jesus. There we are. Judas may be a seen example of Satan attacking. After Jesus gave the bread to Judas, it says, and Satan entered into him and he was led to pay for the betrayal of Jesus. So if you want to get on Judas, what made Judas want to betray Jesus? What was it? I'll wait. Anybody got any answer? It was Jesus's love for Mary that caused the betrayal of Jesus by Judas. Open love for Mary that turned them all off. They felt as if they had nothing that they could contend against regarding her. They were jealous. It wasn't greed. Had nothing to do with greed. It was jealousy. And see, these are the things that we do when we don't really want to look at the facts. The first thing anyone would say when you read that scripture is jealousy. Greed came next. Greed should have already been hovering above the environment. But what did it in? Jealousy. He was jealous. All of them were jealous. They all were jealous of Jesus' love for Mary. Period. They could not contend against it. They felt outshined. They felt like his love for Mary, because it was a natural love. It went back to Adam and Eve in their holistic state. And there was no way for them to wiggle in and compete against the love he had for her. And she for him. And you can say Mary was this and that, and Mary was she was a prostitute and all this kind of stuff. Who cares? Jesus didn't care. The Son of God didn't care. He loved her openly. And I'm here to tell you that it will be the Marys and the women that Jesus would have in his life that would make Jesus's walk so smooth. It was the women. They would find the money to help Jesus's ministry. Let's keep it a buck. These are the things people don't want to talk about, but they were true. These are all facts, and nobody's going to be able to say, I'm not telling the truth. I ask that you commune with me here in this comment section if you don't agree, or if you think I am outright lying. Jesus' love for Mary and the support that Jesus had from the women. It was the women that supported Jesus and made Jesus's ministry, if you want to call it that yoke, if you want to call it a yoke, easier for Jesus to handle. And he loved her. That one thing that happened between Jesus and Mary set off this whole chain of events of betrayal. It was as if they knew, okay, Jesus is about to start trying to, really make his relationship with Mary greater. And it's already looking to the end of this whole thing. I don't know how this thing is going to work out. I have to find my own safety. You get to seeing the truth of people when they feel as if they don't have any way of benefiting. They'll tell you all day long, oh, I love you. I'm doing this for you because I love you and because I love God. And God, I love God so much that I know God is with you. And I've come to be by your side and to support you and all that you do. But you let those people ever feel like they're not going to be able to benefit financially or any kind of way that they had deemed beneficial to aligning to you. And you will quickly see their true intention. You won't have to have done anything to those people. Jesus didn't do anything to them. Nothing but blessed these people, made them better. But his love for Mary set off this entire sequence of events. And like I said, I'm not a debater, but I sure will sit down and have a conversation about this one because I know what I'm talking about. It was his love for the women. And not just his love for the women, it was their love for him. You see, when you can get the right kind of woman to love you and align to you, and I'm not talking about any type of woman like, oh, she has to be a college graduate or she has to be a virgin and all this kind of stuff. They were saying Mary was a prostitute. She was getting her money manipulating men and using her body. And she was giving it all to Jesus. So when I say, when you can get the right kind of woman to love you, I mean, when you can come upon a woman with a particularity of yourself and show that to her, and she aligned to it, friend, hell or high water, she can stop either of the two on your behalf. She has the power to do it. You will bring that aspect forth in her out of love. That is her creation. You got a lot of women, a world full of them, dormant to this truth. Nobody's brought it forth in them. They feel ashamed of going it alone, so they settle for low-level relationships. But what we see is that when we look at the story, I'm going to have to do a podcast on that. When we look at the story of Jesus and we look at all of the things that he incurred, and at the end of the day, who came looking? And they called her a prostitute and they spoke ill of her. But Jesus always had her around. He loved her. And he redeemed her. He gave her hope. She's like, okay, I'm bound to the constraints of this curse. I'm out here doing what I got to do. And he sees me for who I am. I'm not about to walk around here and be ashamed of who I am. I love myself. Yet when I am with him, he feeds me spiritually, and I will cover him with the power of my love. And if you know anything about the power of a woman's love, friend, that's why I'm peculiar who I love. My love is powerful. Friend. I'll sit by myself before I give it to anybody. Mary the same way. She is anointing him. She knew the journey ahead. And she said, I will cover you with my love. My love is strong enough to cover you and to assist you in withstanding all that you will go through. And he trusted her to do it. This is the Messiah, the Son of God, the prophet, the wise one, trusting a prostitute to anoint him at a pivotal time in his life. Yo, I have to get on that another day because I'm already an hour and 4 minutes in. That's why I don't pay attention to what people talk about. People will come up with all kind of stuff to try to negate you. They will expect you to jump through all these hoops just so that you can come before them. Hoops that they haven't even jumped through. You're not even at my level. And who said I wanted to come before you? You need to be replaced. This is what Jesus is saying. All y'all with this mindset, you're all that I have to work with. You're all I got to work with. So I'm going to pour into you as much as I can. But you don't get to judge me. And you don't get to judge her. Because Jesus said she's going to go down in history in ways that you will never go down. This work that she's doing, you will never be able to match. Yet you think you can judge her? As if you have the authority? I have to do a podcast on that. Y'all don't get me to going about it, because I will go. It's an interesting time. And it's each one of our duty to get the most out of our experience in this life. Don't worry about what people are talking about. Who cares? God is not going to ask you about anybody else. I did the podcast on the clouds in the sky. It is the things of this life that come upon you that invoke a particular feeling from you. Why wouldn't it be any other way at the end of this journey that we have? It's going to be you against you. You against you is not going to care about what those other people felt and the peer pressure and how you wanted that job and so you went along to get along. It's not going to care. It's going to make sense of all of the stupid, irrelevant things that we fall for and we allow to beguile us and misdirect us on our path. It's not going to care about the money. In fact, the childishness that we show to one another in this life, trying to catch people up and to harm one another, is going to count against us. But Judas, that betrayed Jesus, don't you know at the end of his day, when it was just him and him, reflecting upon his life, that his wrongdoing that he did against the righteous vessel of God, regardless if you see him as the Messiah or you see him as a monumental prophet or a son of God, he did a monumental thing of good in this life. There's nothing Jesus is saying in this book that is hurtful to anybody. I don't care where you're born at. He's did nothing but blessed and uplifted the human experience. And you allowed yourself to be a participant in his harm? There's no one that can convince me that there is not a negative effect from that. I've lived too long, friend. I'm telling you, I have been in some situations in spirit that I will not ever explain to you. Everything I say to you is truthful. There is a method to this life, and you being ignorant to it means nothing. Because you're not supposed to be ignorant to it. You have every avenue in this world for you to obtain knowledge and to be able to dominate within it. But you choose not to pay attention. And you want to be angry with other people and jealous and connive to harm people. You are harming yourself and you're blessing them people. Jesus overcame death. You do not get how huge that is. He overcame death. There is no hell for Jesus. He overcame all of it. And whether you believe or you don't, you are confined to that. That's you. It doesn't matter to anybody but you. And if anyone allows your belief or disbelief in it to affect their walk, that's on them. Oh, okay. I don't want to come across so passionate about it, but I am. I'm very passionate about it because it's real out here, y'all. It's so for real. When we're talking about these fallen ones or this area at Skinwalker Ranch, attributes are intelligent, non-human entity shapeshifters, highly active, unidentified flying objects, invisible forces, terrifying animal-like entities, unseen intelligent sentient forces cause severe equipment malfunction. Yo. Friend. These fallen angels have not left this realm. They haven't gone anywhere. They're bound here. They are disembodied spirits. And at this stage in the game, it's fair to say that they don't even want to interact. The level of ignorance that we've fallen into is unappealing. Stuck on stupid is an understatement. If this is an intelligent, sentient being, meaning it feels, it can incarnate in this environment as if it's real. They can hear and sense and feel in this holographic world. This is a dream. This is not reality. It is because it seems like it is, but it's not. And many people are making this a reality, and it's not. It's just not. And if they know this, and if you listen to what I spoke to about the other realms that are beyond this realm, on the same plane of existence, if you want to call it that, but beyond this particular realm, this particular distinction, and how you needed carbon. The Vikings said that you would need carbon to get to it. They had a rainbow bridge, it blew up, and now you can't get to the other realms outside of this molecular chemical. Carbon. Yet, there was a time that they were all coming. And if you are able to wrap your mind around the fact that these entities are intelligent, you need to get that first. They're intelligent. All of this, these dumb demons, this, and that. Okay. They're highly intelligent. Heightened states of consciousness is where they reside. There's no way for them to interact with you because heightened states of consciousness do not come down. When we look at the serpent in the garden speaking to, when we look at Satan speaking to, or the devil speaking to the serpent in the garden, he comes to him and says, what? Rise up. I have a word from whence you can profit. He tells the serpent to come up to his level. Ascend. So I can interact with you. And the only way for you to overcome is to ascend. A lot of times we think, okay, I just don't want to know because it's too much. I'm afraid. I feel afraid. Friend, if you feel like you're afraid, the only safety you have is in overcoming. If you think you're vulnerable, you would want to know, because there's no more vulnerable and weaker space than you can be is in an ignorant space. They'll do you any kind of way in that space without any repercussions. It's when you ascend and you take ownership of your creation that they become very limited to how they get at you. They become very limited in how they interact with you in a negative way. They've got to follow certain protocols, whether they want to or not. This is why when many people that they call are chosen come forth, like Jonah or Jesus or any of the chosen people of God come forward, Elijah, you never see them retreating and shying away and going and saying, I quit. Well, where are you going to quit to? Where are you going to go? You've got enemies all around you. The only safety you have is in moving forward. Because if you go backwards, you lose the covering of God and your enemies, and all that you fear befalls you. You've got to keep going. It's the same way with intelligence. You've got to keep ascending. And not in a manner in which somebody else expects you to, but in the manner in which God deems it necessary for you. You own your own avatar. It's yours. And it's not up for judgment as to how you do you. If you are not welcome in any earthly system, then don't align to any earthly system. The journey is just as robust going it alone. It's more peaceful, I tell you that. You don't have to be concerned with as many things. It's just you and yourself and God. This is my word for y'all today. I went all over the place today. All is well. I encourage you to get the most out of this life. Well, what else would you get? Are the shoes and the outfits and the parties, do you think that's it? Do you? Drinking and laughing, you think that's it? Those are the low-level creations, and there's nothing wrong with them. Could you imagine what the heightened creations are like? If those are that good, I'm here to tell you. This is where it's at. This is my word for you. Your loved one you'll ever know. I'll never stop telling you. An hour and 20 minutes in. Be good to yourselves and be good to one another. Peace and love.